Good afternoon, everyone. Good to see so many familiar faces. Hello, welcome. This is, it's good to see waves. Good to see everyone. This is our latest Eden Project North community conversation. And thank you for sharing your Friday lunchtime with us. We have another great lineup of guests to bring to you. Going to be going into that very shortly, and then, of course, as usual, we will open up to questions after that. So, if you have anything you'd like to ask, please do put your hand up in the Zoom platform in the participants menu, and we will come to you in order. David Harland, our chief executive, can't make it today. Sends his apologies. I think this is the first one he hasn't been able to make. Which is remarkable given how busy his diary is. But he sends his apologies, but we have Tim and Emma here from Eden, as well as our special guests. So I'm sure between us all, we'll be able to address any questions you have. And Tim will be giving you an update very shortly as well. Just a little bit of housekeeping from me. We are recording the session, so please be aware of that, and we will put that recording on the Eden Project website afterwards, and it'll be sent out via email. So you can feel free to share that with anyone who can't make it. We also have a full year, the rest of 2022 of these events is already set. So you can go to edenproject.com/north to see the full lineup and sign up for those events. So without any further ado, I'm going to hand over to Tim. Tim, the floor is yours.
Okay, hi everyone. Hope you can hear me okay. I was just going to give you a little update with the work we're doing currently. So we are tying up the planning application. So I hope this isn't too much detail for anyone, but Section 106 and land transfer, that's all being worked through at the moment. And we're very busy with pre-construction activities. So the project hasn't stopped. We are actually still really cracking on with lots of design and legals and all sorts of stuff. David and Dawn have been working very hard on the private funding, and I can pretty much say that is now sorted, or as sorted as it can be. So that's excellent news. And we've now been signposted very helpfully by government to Levelling Up Fund Round 2, which was the transparent process that we all wanted to see for how we apply for our government grant fund. So in terms of ducks in a row, it's looking very good. We've got 2 months of really hard work to put in our Levelling Up Round 2 application. So that will go in round about June. And we look forward to making a really positive announcement sometime in summer. So that's kind of where we are from an Eden perspective on planning work and funding. I think with that, I'll probably hand straight over to Wes and Maggie, who I've actually lost from my screen. There you are. Okay, I can see you now. So Wes and Maggie from Lancashire and Morecambe College, take it away. Thank you.
Thank you, Tim. Yeah, good afternoon to all colleagues. It's great to see so many people on the conversation today. I'm just going to attempt to share my screen very, very briefly, if I could, colleagues. If you could just bear with me. Okay, which I think should be showing. I don't know, Ben, if you can just give me an indication that that's showing. Is that okay?
Yeah, there we go. We can see it. Thanks, Wes.
Okay, brilliant. Okay, is that working, Ben? Are we okay? Yeah, marvellous. Okay, so it will be a brief whistle-stop tour, colleagues. So, yeah, my name's Wes Johnson. For those of you I've not had the pleasure of meeting, my day job is Principal Chief Exec of Lancashire and Morecambe College. I've also got the pleasure of being a Director of Lancaster and District Chamber of Commerce, and I'm also Chair of the Lancashire Colleges, which brings all 12 of the Lancashire colleges together. I'll hand over in a little while to my colleague Maggie Cawthorne, who's our Project Lead for the Strategic Development Fund. Okay. So in terms of the college ourselves, we're really proud to be Lancaster and Morecambe's community college. We can trace our roots right back to 1824. We take that anchor role incredibly seriously. And as you can see on the screen there, colleagues, you get a number of very, very clear points that define the purpose of the college. So everything we do is employer-led. We're committed to every member of our community, and we're really keen on working with people with shared values. Okay, so what does that mean to this particular conversation today? Well, our journey with Eden started back in November 2018 when news of Eden became more wider known. I got in touch with Eden and made the journey down to Eden and met with Cy Bellamy and Emma, who's on the call today, and immediately realised that we had shared values. You know, we believed in the same things, and we really early on recognised these idea of golden threads that run through the heart of the college, the heart of our community as Lancaster and Morecambe, and very much were replicated by Eden Project as well, around citizenship, around sustainability, around that sense of place-based solutions, around our position not only in the UK but in the world. And that culminated in June 2019 of signing a 25-year agreement. We wanted to make a long-term difference in terms of not just workforce development, but in terms of opportunities for our area. And as a result of that 25-year MOU, we've developed a number of fantastic projects already. So one which I will talk about briefly in a moment, but deserves, I think, its own community conversation with our colleague, Professor Robert Barrett, is around the Morecambe curriculum, which again is a fantastic project. But we've also developed an Eden study programme for young people to shape their careers within those green sectors, within the idea of eco-environmental tourism, within tourism, land management opportunities for the future, and obviously sustainability writ large. Another project we've developed jointly is the Eden traineeship, and this was a piece of work that we did in particular with Cy Bellamy at Eden in terms of really understanding the expectations of future employees, not only at Eden, but in Eden-related organisations, within Eden supply chain, in terms of the knowledge, skills, values and behaviours that they'll need. And that's tailored to traineeship, which really is supporting young people to get into businesses right across our district. And again, more information on any of these is readily available.
Sorry, can I just interrupt you? You're just on presenter view.
Sorry, let me just stop my...
I apologise. We can read it. It might just be a little easier to read if you...
Okay, let me just reshare then, Ben. Apologise. Yeah. Okay, let's try that one. Is that better, Ben? Is that...
Yeah, that's great.
Perfect. Yeah, apologies. And again, we can circulate this to, if required, to all colleagues. So I've talked about the Eden Gold Threads, and so I was just moving on to the Morecambe Bay curriculum. Okay, so this is a piece of text which our colleague, Professor Robert Barrett's captured to really sort of capture where we are in terms of this fantastic project thus far. So again, I won't read it out in detail, but it is this idea of a Birth to 25 curriculum. It's been co-constructed. As somebody that's worked in education for many years, it's the only project I've ever worked on in education where everybody's pointing in the same direction. And this project hasn't been funded by masses of startup funding. It's been started because people really believe in it. It's a shared set of values. People give goodwill, and more latterly, we've been hugely supported by resource from Lancaster University as well to actually administer and support this fantastic curriculum as it develops. And again, I think that there's so much more we could discuss on that one that we've certainly not got time today, but it's something that really does encapsulate the whole sense of place, but also that idea of sustainable, fulfilling careers for all of our young people and adults as we move forward together. Okay, so the point of today's presentation, if I could, colleagues, I'd just like to talk about the next iteration in terms of projects for the college, which have a huge overlap with what we're talking about in terms of Eden, in terms of current challenges for our district, current opportunities for our district. So at the moment, all Lancashire colleges right across the county are working alongside chambers of commerce to identify something called local skills improvement plans. It's a huge national pilot scheme, and Lancashire is one of only 8 counties that are engaged in both elements of this one. So this is to identify the current and future business needs of our businesses, our employers across the county, and obviously, for us, very much around the north of Lancashire and Lancaster and Morecambe as a district. But all the colleges are working on a project which runs through to December 2022. There are 7 projects running across Lancashire, and we're involved in the vast majority of them as Lancaster and Morecambe College, and obviously therefore widening those opportunities to our local businesses and our local communities. So for example, at the moment, we can offer advice to local businesses in terms of how do you decarbonise your business. So again, a lot of that may be just really understanding the terms. We've got ability to bring in specialist consultants to support local businesses that want to decarbonise. And again, my colleague Maggie Cawthorne can provide more detail on this one, but it is a free opportunity at the moment funded by a strategic development fund. Digital underpins so much that we do now. And again, across Lancashire, we're looking to develop specialism in terms of digital excellence. And again, that's able to apply to a whole range of community and business settings as well. Domestic and commercial retrofit, you'll know that this is a huge opportunity in terms of, as a country, how do we move away from that reliance on gas or oil boilers to heat our homes, heat our businesses. We're on a marathon round of staff development at the moment in terms of upskilling our plumbing, our heating engineers across the college in terms of our staff, to create that capacity to meet those industry needs, when the government have set some really challenging deadlines in terms of timescales to move away from gas and oil and other less sustainable heating solutions. So again, Maggie will be able to give you some information in terms of provision on this one, but hugely important for local businesses, but also in terms of domestic situations as well. But there's a massive skills need to prepare people. Similarly, in terms of electric vehicle charging point installation, so it's something that we discussed at our last Eden conversation in terms of how we're going to create the capacity to welcome more and more electric vehicles, both to Lancaster and Morecambe on a day-to-day basis, but in terms of those visitors that we hope will flock to visit Eden in the future. Again, we know there's a huge shortage. So one of the major projects that we're working on at the moment is how do we upskill our electricians, our students, how do we upskill the workforce that's already out there in Lancaster and Morecambe to be able to retrofit, to be able to fit electric vehicle charging points across our district to meet that growing need. Alongside this, and I know this is something that both Tim and Emma have got a keen interest in, is we're also driving forward the idea of electric plant vehicles. Okay, so yeah, just to be clear, we're talking about JCBs, around heavy duty equipment that works on construction sites. So we've actually taken delivery of one of the first electric JCBs into college to really pioneer training on this one, because it is a very, very different way of working, although obviously quite a familiar set of skills in terms of those plant vehicle operators. But I think as we move more and more forward, and as quite rightly we reduce the reliance on petrol and diesel for road vehicles, there's also a clear expectation that plant vehicles working on building sites, working in commercial settings, again, will move more and more towards electric. So what we hope to do through our electric plant vehicles is really start to upskill the industry, really start to showcase the industry, but also it's a great tool literally to engage young people in terms of future careers. And again, we're looking at quite an exciting project with Tim at the moment, which has only emerged this week in terms of how we tie together electric plant vehicles and the planting of wildflowers. So we'll be able to provide a bit more information a bit further down the line, Tim, I think, on that one, won't we, as that becomes clearer. Low carbon manufacturing, again, lots and lots of niche manufacturing businesses right across Lancaster and Morecambe, and again, supporting those in terms of how do they become more energy efficient, how do they have less of a carbon footprint, and that's in partnership again with a number of other Lancashire colleges. But just finally for me, before I pass on to Maggie, that the area where Lancaster and Morecambe colleges specialise in is around sustainable energy. Okay, so as a district, Lancaster and Morecambe, as we all know, is a hub for energy production, but we also know that that's a changing landscape. So as a college, we're starting to train our students in terms of defueling, in terms of decommissioning, because there's a whole career ahead for many, many young people. But actually for us as a community, it's really important that we understand two key things. Where are we going to get our energy from in the future? Okay, how do we ensure that alongside potentially tidal, wind, solar, how do we ensure we have that base load in terms of energy production? How can we tie together the cutting edge research that fantastic organisations like Lancaster University are working on at the moment? I'll give you one example of that one in terms of cost effective production of hydrogen. How do we link that cutting edge research right now to the skills that our future heating engineers will need from a technician point of view? And that's obviously where us as a college comes in. So as part of one of our projects, we're installing a brand new hydrogen suite whereby a whole range of future boilers will run on both current gas supplies and hydrogen as a future gas supply as well, to make sure that the future heating engineers we produce as a college have those skills in effect for technologies which aren't widespread at the moment but are likely to be in the future. And again, supporting low carbon innovation, sustainable energy skills development. Future careers, the idea of green collar jobs, entrepreneurship in terms of sustainable energy solutions, whilst generating aspiration and ambition. So again, a big part of what we're doing at the moment is really working with our local schools right down to primary level to really inspire young people in terms of future green collar jobs, entrepreneurship, and this idea of sustainable low carbon energy production for the future. As at the moment, we also want to remain a destination for low carbon energy employees. It's really important to Lancaster and Morecambe's economy at the moment, not just in terms of those directly employed in energy production, but also into that huge wider supply chain. But I guess the underpinning thought of all of this is what we really pride ourselves on is a shared set of values, across education, community, employers and stakeholders. And that certainly sort of resonates in our work that's ongoing with Tim and the team in terms of Eden, in terms of thinking about that construction phase, that operation phase. How can we ensure that for us as a college, we're producing the right knowledge, skills and behaviours for Eden for the future, but also for that whole host of other businesses which are evolving very, very, very quickly. So without further ado, I'm just going to pass on very, very briefly to my colleague, Maggie Cawthorne, who will answer the so what question in terms of what does this actually mean right here, right now. Maggie.
Thanks, Wes. So we've been developing new courses. We've been asking employers what they need in the future, and we've been trying to respond to that. And you can just see on the screen the first offer that's coming out in the summer term. Everything from generic courses, which are increasing environmental awareness at level 1 and level 2 for managers, to the more specific skills such as domestic retrofit and the installation of heat pumps and the fitting of electric charging points. We'll also have in the summer courses on PASMA, IPAF, solar fitting, insulation, even harness training for working on wind turbines. And we're still welcoming your ideas on what you would like to see in terms of training for environmental awareness or for sustainability. And briefly, it's already mentioned the fact that we have some paid action plans available to work with a consultant to produce an action plan for your business. So please let us know if that's something you're interested in, and we can meet that as well. And on top of that, we're making sure that all our learners and all our apprentices all receive training in sustainability and sustainability practices. So we're hoping to really contribute in the community to moving forward quickly. And I think that's probably enough, unless I've missed something out, Wes.
No, I think that's great. Thank you, Maggie. And obviously, we're accessible and keen to sort of connect with all of our community. And again, we continue to work closely with Tim and the Eden team to really add value to the whole project as we move forward. Yeah.
I've put the flyer onto chat, but there seems to be some difficulty in accessing it. So if you are putting your email on that, I will get those emailed out to you. But please do email us with your ideas as well.
Thank you, Tim. Yeah.
Thank you, Wes and Maggie. It's really interesting. So we're now going to pass on to Andy and Joe, I believe. Who wants to go first? You ready to unmute?
You kick off, Joe?
Thought you were.
Yeah, I can do. Okay, so in a bit, Joe's going to tell you a little bit about some of the research that Eden is already doing with Lancaster University. But first of all, I'm going to talk a little bit about the ways that we want to give people the opportunity to get involved in our research with Eden, because we want this research partnership that's just starting up to be strongly place-based, which means that we want the research programme overall to focus on doing research actually in this place, in Morecambe Bay, and also to focus on issues that are important to Morecambe Bay for its social and environmental and economic futures. And one way that we want to make sure that happens is to build on the really good work that Eden has already done in involving local residents and businesses and other organisations in its plans. So we want to get input from residents and organisations on what they would like to see from the research programme, what kind of issues and problems they think that we should be looking into, you think we should be looking into. And we want to use that to help inform the overall direction of the programme and how we measure its success, how we check that that's actually meeting local needs. So that's the research programme overall. Then on some individual projects where it's appropriate and where there are people or organisations with an interest, we hope to get people involved like through the whole life of the project, from developing ideas and helping to define problems, right through to like evaluation and dissemination and actually using what comes out of the project. And we also want to get people involved in the actual doing of the research, in citizen science, in data collection, making observations and helping to build up a picture of the aspects of the place which are relevant to these projects as they come forward. So it's quite a radical, possibly even a unique way of a university, a research institution trying to work with and involve the local community in shaping the research that it does. We've got a few ideas about how we might start to do that, which I'll mention quickly now, but then it would be really good later for us to hear from you about how you think it would be best to involve you, because you know better than us. So firstly, we're going to email a link to a very short questionnaire out to this group, people who've signed up for the Eden Community Conversations, that you can fill in online, which will mostly be to get some initial input into the kind of broad themes that you would like us to be looking at, and also to enable you to register interest in being involved in a more kind of ongoing basis. And that should come out in the next few weeks. We're hoping we might also be able to send that out to other people who previously involved, been in contact with Eden through the planning application and so on, and through the earlier like in-person community conversations. But I think we still need to figure out some data protection issues around that. We're hoping to run an open event on the prom in the May half term to hopefully connect with some people that we haven't met before. And we're also hoping to bring together a group of umbrella and anchor organisations like the NHS, Chambers of Commerce, CVS, local nature partnerships, the councils, who can then help us to communicate with all of the people in the organisations in their network. So we kind of use this relatively small group to link out to much wider groups of stakeholder organisations. Now, obviously, I'm not saying that we can or will do whatever anyone says they would like us to look into. Obviously, all the research is going to be shaped by the expertise that we actually have at the university, what our researchers' interests are, what funding opportunities are available. That's really important. And of course, Eden's mission, right? This whole concept of building better relationships between people in the natural world, working together. But we are really hoping that the whole programme can be shaped by a real conversation, a real dialogue between all of us. And like I said, I think this is a really unique approach for a university to be taking. It is probably time for me to shut up now. Be open to any questions when the floor is opened. But like I said, it would be really useful either now or in the survey when we send it out for you to tell us how you'd like to be involved, what ways you'd like to be involved. You know, if we want to ask for your input on something, what is the best way to do that? You know, whether that's you as an individual or a group or an organisation or whatever. And bear in mind, this is just the start of the process. And with that, I'll hand over to Jo. Great, thank you very much. So what I'm going to do now is just describe one project that is already partway through, and some of the research that we've been doing in partnership with Eden. So this was a project that was funded by the Natural Environment Research Council. We responded to a particular call, and what we did was we developed a network that links together, a network of people to link together the quality of urban environment with nature connectedness and health. So this seems something that would really be at the heart of Eden Project North, because it's something that sits within a town, but Eden has a passion around nature connectedness, around health. But one of the things that the research should help us understand is what matters about the quality of an urban environment. So if you have a piece of grass that people can walk on, does it matter about the biodiversity? Does it matter about air quality? Now, we're going to all have opinions about those things, but we have to do research to fully unpack what the link between quality and our ability to feel connected to nature, to feel better, to get health benefits from it are. And so we got some funding to build this network. So how did we do this?
Well, we put out a call to both academics and practitioners to join together in a series of workshops to come up with ideas of pilot projects that they might do to explore this issue. So we were very excited by the response from the community. We had 128 applications, but we only sadly had 42 places. But what that did allow us to do is to bring together a range of people from a whole range of different organisations and universities. So we didn't have more than 2 people from any one place. And so we got all these different people, these different practitioners, these academics with different backgrounds in a virtual room together over 5 sessions over 2.5 weeks. And we had 5 amazing mentors, including Charlotte Russell from Eden, who's on the call, and some other individuals who helped shape these ideas and helped bring these groups of people that didn't know each other together to develop pitches, which they then put to our mentors and develop these projects that are now pilot projects to begin to understand this connection between quality of the environment and nature. And if you want to know more about this, as these projects go online, so we've gone to the stage where we finished those workshops, we've made funding decisions, and we're going through the less exciting part of just doing the contracts and the invoices and all the nasty bits of paperwork that we have to do. The projects all start at the beginning of April and then run for 6 months. So if you want to hear more about those as they develop, we'd be excited to share the information with you. But they're on, a real broad range of things. So when you think about urban environment, you can think about, anything from digging in your garden to growing food, and you can think about any kind of different groups of people that you might want to contact. So we've got 5 projects in a range of different areas that we can tell you about that begin to explore this connection between the quality of the environment and then how that affects our feelings of nature connectedness and improvements in health. So as I mentioned, Charlotte was our lovely mentor, and one of the Eden folk, Emma, who's on the line, is part of one of the teams. And so this was a really great partnership between the uni and between Eden. So that was all I had to say for now, but I'm happy to answer questions later. And I think I'm passing over to Damien.
Hello, everyone. I'm Damien Sharkey. I'm the Programme Manager for the Bay, a Blueprint for Recovery. If you've never heard of the Bay, a Blueprint for Recovery, it's an initiative started with the Lancashire Wildlife Trust, Cumbria Wildlife Trust, the Eden Project, and the NHS. And it's based around what Joe and Andy were talking about connecting to nature for your own well-being. We now are on the ground. We have a team of Eden people actually on the ground in Morecambe delivering events and nature and well-being sessions that you or anyone can take part in, and they're all free, and it's all funded by the players of the People's Postcode Lottery. I'm going to drop into the chat now a link to the website that we've created where you can see all the events that we're actually doing now. We have a whole series programmed and we'll be running them for the next couple of years where you can come along and take part in all these events that are going on all around the area. It actually goes from Barrow right around to Fleetwood, but the specific Eden part is in Morecambe, and we are here and we are operating now. If you want to refer someone who you think might be suffering from loneliness or isolation, or you're feeling a bit down yourself, we have specialists in place that are delivering sessions, well-being sessions, and you can self-refer onto them, or you can refer anyone you want and talk to them and send them to us, and we will happily put them on sessions, and our lovely nature and wellbeing officers will guide you through sessions and hopefully make you feel better. But these things are happening now. I'm going to put you a link into the chat for the website and for the Facebook page, and you can see exactly who we are, and you can actually meet Eden employees on the ground delivering well-being and nature for you. I think that's all I've got to say on that. And if you want to talk to me about that, just get in touch. I'll just drop the link in for everyone now. And
Thank you, Damien.
Okay, Ben.
Cheers. Sorry, were you about to say something else? I didn't interrupt you, did I?
No, that's fine. That's fine. I think I've got it in a nutshell there. I was timing myself for a minute. I'm in Morecambe myself. I've been here for 10 years. I'm just down the road from where the Eden Project's going to be. So I'm very, very excited about all this.
Fantastic. Thank you, Damien. And thanks also to Joe and Andy, Maggie and Wes. Lovely to hear from you all. So just to remind you, we're here for another half an hour, and we're ready to take questions. if you have some burning issue that has occurred to you during our speakers. So please do open up the participants window and put your hand up within the Zoom platform, and then we can see who's ready to ask a question. This is always the bit where I start feeling nervous because, there we go. And then as soon as I say that, someone puts their hands up. Rebecca, you're first to put your hand up. So you should be able to unmute now. So when you're ready, please do ask a question.
Hi, basically I'm like a Morecambe resident. I live in Bear Lane, and I've done my undergrad in marine and freshwater conservation, then my master's in tropical marine biology, basing it around environmental education and how we can basically I did a project that used like marine microbes from Morecambe Bay and made them into like a deck of cards. But I was wondering, I'd like to be able to take my science a bit further, and I'd like to be able to collab with you guys, but I wouldn't know where to start or how I'd be able to get involved with you. So I was wondering if I could give one of you guys my email, or if I'd be able to take one of yours and then I'd be able to contact you guys, because I'd really like to be involved with you guys. Like, I've come to all your outreach events a few years ago before the pandemic, and I'm really interested, and I'd like to be able to get involved a bit more. I'm just a bit anxious on how to.
Thank you, Rebecca. Good to hear your support. Do you mean Eden or the university and college, or everyone?
Just any aspect. I'd like to be involved in the development of things, because I know that there's stuff going on with the national curriculum, and I've just done my master's about environmental education and how it's important to teach our next generation how to sort of mitigate the problems that we're having at the moment. And I know that the Eden project is predominantly like, it's really focusing on its environmental education and stuff like that. And I would like to be involved. Like, I'm not entirely sure how, but I've got skills, and I'd like to be able to come and work with you guys and help with whatever I can. And I'd just really like to be involved.
Great. Well, from an Eden perspective, I will drop you a message in the chat. So you've got.
I'm doing it as we speak, Ben. Sorry, I'm struggling to multitask. Yeah.
I can drop one in the chat.
Because I've been in contact with Rob Barrett a bit, but I know he's very busy. So I was wondering if there's any other emails, or if I could put my email in somewhere that someone would be able to contact me at all.
You've got mine now, or you should have mine now, Rebecca.
Yeah. Okay, let me have a look. Right, I'm going to write that down.
Can I just say, Rebecca, we are doing citizen science events, and we're looking for people to help us run those events as well. If you want
I'm currently living in Essex at the moment, because that's where I did my master's, and I'm just sort of working up here, but I'll be back in September-ish, so I'll be more than willing to come and help you guys out.
Come back home. It's all happening up here.
Yeah. All right, I'm going to write these emails down. Okay, yes. So
I would say from a Lancaster University perspective, in the chat already, there's an email you can reach us at, which is eden@lancaster.ac.uk. But again, look out for a survey. It'll be a link to a Microsoft Forms survey that will come out in a few weeks. If you put your contact details into there and some of the other information, then we will have you, and we will be able to get in touch and get you involved.
Fantastic. Thank you very much. Thank you. Okay, I'm going to mute myself. Thanks, guys.
Thanks, Rebecca. Good to hear your enthusiasm for the work that's going on here. If anyone else would like to ask a question, please put your hand up, as Rebecca did. There we go. Okay, Sarah, let me just. Okay, you should be able to unmute now. So when you're ready, if you could ask your question.
Hi, it's similar to Rebecca, really. I'm just wanting to kind of say hello and say that I'm interested in how to get involved in some of these projects. I run a company, a small charity called 1/10 Human, which is based in Lancaster, and we create science and engineering described adventures in this area and nationally. And I'm just wanting to just say hello and say it all sounds very exciting, and this is my face, and I shall definitely use some of those email addresses.
Great, thank you. And if I guess we can, if you could drop a note to Sarah as well, that'd be great.
Sorry, I'm struggling to type and speak. I'm on it.
Okay, thank you, Sarah. Good to see you. David is up next. David, you should be able to unmute now. So when you're ready and unmuted, if you could ask a question, that'd be great. Thank you.
Yeah, I'm just sort of really enthusiastic about what is happening. I've been on these calls for as long as they've been going. And I think my question is, obviously, there's positive sounds with the sort of funding and so forth. So does this mean if you're not going to potentially get government funding till mid-summer, early autumn, will that mean that the opening of the Eden project possibly won't actually happen on the original schedule of 2024? May it sort of be pushed nearer 2025?
Tim, do you want to take that one?
Yes. Well, I don't think anyone could say we've had a fair wind over the last 2 years, what with COVID and stuff. But look, we are pressing on. The reason that Eden is carrying on is to try and keep to that programme. So I think at the moment we're looking at late 2024 with a kind of soft opening. And as we move into the kind of the high season of 25, it will probably be a full opening. But, it's definitely still 2024 on the door. And we're carrying on the work to make sure we can still hit that date.
Yeah, that's really, really good to hear. But I know obviously the later, obviously, that you overall get all the funding and everything else in place, potentially it could be a little later than originally was going to be. So that's good to hear. I'm sort of very heartened by that. Thank you.
Super.
Thank you, David. Good to hear from you. Kate is up next. Kate, when you're unmuted and ready, if you could ask your question, please.
Hello. Yes, I'm Kate from the Queensbury Group. I love these community conversations and I've attended them all. And every time I leave a conversation, I feel more buoyed up about what's happening locally. So just attending is enough for me very often. But I'm particularly interested in how Eden sees the upskilling of the local supply chain, and that particularly the decarbonisation of and that fossil fuel free aspiration. Queensbury are working at the moment with Metropolitan Police to decarbonise their estate across Greater London, and even working with one organisation across a complex estate is incredibly difficult. And I can see your site from where I'm working today, and the businesses around the local independents are going to really struggle to get up to speed and get down to net zero carbon. How are you going to engage with those guys, and to what extent do you expect all that good stuff to sort of bleed backwards from the promenade and back into the town where the SMEs are concerned?
Thanks, Kate, and good to hear you're enjoying the conversations. Emma or Tim, one for you, I think. I don't know who's going to jump in first.
Well, I just had the plumber just knocked on my door. So I beg your pardon for that. But Kate, I think you were talking about net zero and what we're going to do in terms of moving that into the town. There's quite a lot going on in that space at the moment, quite a lot of conversations. I don't know if you're familiar with the Northwest Energy Hub and Community Energy, but we're talking to all of those people. There's the brilliant and energetic Kate Gill-Martin. I don't know if you know her, but she's just amazing. So we're looking at all sorts of stuff in terms of that at the moment, and we've got some opportunities through some new mechanisms in the energy market as how we can actually get our sustainable energy from off-site projects, which we might end up actually supporting with funding. It's quite deep, it's quite technical, but community energy is something that we're looking at the moment. And actually, there's another piece about heat networks that we're talking to BEIS around, potentially with a very loose idea about getting everyone in the vicinity of Eden off fossil fuels. We might be able to do a mini heat network, just initially sort of a few 100 meters from the site, but it'd be a great thing to do. Poor Vanessa of the Winter Gardens, I don't know if you know her, but she's got a gas heating system in that building, and I can only tell you what sort of cost she's now looking at to keep that going. So there is a swathe of discussion around how we can help ourselves and Morecambe become a bit more carbon free.
Thank you, Tim. Kate, is there anything else? I'm aware you've muted yourself and probably can't unmute yourself. Is there anything else you wanted to say? Let me unmute you again. No? Okay. Thank you anyway. Lovely to speak to you. See you next time. Thanks, Tim. Wes, you've got your hand up.
Sorry, it was just in response to Kate's question, Ben, as well. I think we're in my sort of Chamber of Commerce hat on. There's a real appetite from small businesses, SMEs, to really understand, that Eden supply chain, how they can be part of that one, the sort of the expectations around sort of low carbon. And I think that's part of a lot of the work we're doing as a college at the moment is sort of, in terms of jargon busting, in terms of really understanding expectations, and I think those incremental steps. So I think there's a real appetite, in response to sort of Kate's point, looking out of her window there, that those businesses do actively want to engage with this process. And again, I think from our point of view, it's always going to be about knowledge, skills, and behaviours, and that's again why we're trying to rapidly develop the provision with partners to really help those businesses to understand what decarbonisation means, to understand what low carbon means, what zero net carbon means. Again, that will always be a collaborative effort. But I think again, there's a real appetite for that from our local SMEs, alongside the day job of recovery from pandemic and keeping their businesses afloat.
Thanks, Wes. Next up is Mark. Mark, when you're ready, you should be able to unmute.
Great. Thank you very much. Hi, afternoon, everybody. Speaking as a former Lancaster University graduate and a Lancashire resident, really, really great to hear what's going on. I work for a company called Timber Play, and we're focused on play and how the natural world, and certainly more and more so urban settings, can connect better children and families, and all of us really, with the natural world, using play as a kind of indicator for that, and a demonstrator for just bringing us all together in a better, more sort of playful way. So it was just to say hi and to reach out to everybody, and if there's scope for any engagement work around playfulness with the project going forward, we'd be really interested in coming on board.
Thank you, Mark. I mean, play has always been something that's been, anyone who's been to Eden in Cornwall will know how important it is to us. I don't know whether there's anything that Tim or Emma want to come back on in response to that. I'm guessing not.
Ben, sorry, I was just typing my email in the chat to Mark. So yes, there's a quite a large designated kind of play area as you approach the site. So I've just written down here Timber Play. Mark, if we can swap details, that'd be lovely.
Yeah, superb, great. I'll drop you a line now. Thanks very much.
Thank you, Mark. So anyone who, we still have 15 minutes left. Now I can see Susan O'Brien has her hand up with her actual hand. So let's see if we can, Susan, if you, when you're ready, you should be able to unmute yourself. Hello, Susan.
Hi.
Hello. What's your question, please?
I was just wanting to know how we can find out more information about the 5 projects that are starting that the university have already put into place. How do we find out information about those 5?
So if you drop a line to the eden@lancaster.ac.uk, it's in the chat, then we can provide more information basically as these go live.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, Susan. Thanks, Joe. If anyone else has anything to say, we still have 15 minutes. If anyone has anything they want to bring up or address to the panel, to the Eden team or the college or university guys, please do put your hand up in the participants window. Anything we don't get a chance to address, we will do so afterwards in writing when we publish the recording on the website. I can't see any hands up. Surely there must be some burning issues here in the audience.
Ben, sorry, just one thing I did forget to say is one of the developments we will be doing at the college is creating a 360 virtual reality suite, which will allow us, for example, to put a 360 camera in one of the biomes at Eden, and then for members of the community to come and experience what that looks like, within the college environment. So in terms of trying to plug the gap between now and 2024, I think, with virtual reality, augmented reality, there's a lot more things that we are going to be able to do, but very much in terms of teaching those future skills as well. So that's one alongside. I don't know, Tim, are you in a position to mention the wildflower project that you raised with me yesterday? Because I think that sounds quite exciting as well.
Yes, well, at the last community conversation, I think we announced it, Wes. So that's the Wildflower PlayStation alliance we've put together. So we're going to be planting around about, I think it's about 12 acres of wildflowers in and around Morecambe. It's going to be happening pretty soon, so they're all in bloom for this year. But I kindly tapped on Wes's door yesterday to see if we could use the electric JCB. So this will be carbon-free mass sowing of wildflowers. I just thought that might be quite a good thing to do. So hopefully you'll be seeing that happening quite soon. I'm also just noticing Colin's post in the chat there. You can tell from today there's actually quite a lot going on, and we probably need to think about some sort of bulletin so that people can actually just see these in one easy list, because there is so much going on. It's sometimes quite hard to see. So Colin, thanks for that suggestion. Take that away and watch this space for us getting some sort of bulletin out.
I noticed you unmuted. Are you waiting to say something? Or?
Just going to say exactly what Tim has just said to Colin about, good idea. It's something we've been thinking about, and watch this space. And also there's been quite a lot of stuff in the chat that I've been trying to respond to, but as you said, Ben, we'll pick it up afterwards if people haven't had a direct response now.
Yeah, that's right. We'll when we publish the video on the website, we will answer any questions that we haven't addressed. I think we've got through most, if not all, of the things that are sitting in there at the moment, but if we have missed anything, we will address them. We see a couple of hands have gone up since we had that little diversion. So Howard, you're up next, and when you're ready, off you go.
Thank you. It was really just to reiterate as I have in the past, about creative arts with youngsters, with the whole project, with education, and with the community. And we unfortunately weren't able to get to the last community talk, but I haven't heard anything about creative arts thus far today.
Okay, thanks, Howard.
Ben, sorry, he's certainly writ large, Howard, through the Morecambe Bay curriculum work that we do, and that's around the full rounded educational experience, but also the development of the individual, and the arts are writ large within there. So I'd be happy to sort of talk you through that in more detail, if that would be useful, Howard. But it absolutely is. And obviously, we have a proud arts culture in Lancaster and Morecambe, which we want to celebrate, and there are real careers for our young people within there. And I know certainly with our conversations with Eden that there will be an opportunity to really showcase that art talent, as the project develops.
Great, thank you. Em, were you going to add something?
I was just going to say that our colleague Misha has been doing a lot of work looking at the kind of arts and cultural side, and actually might be a really good idea to have one of the next community conversations focused on that. So leave that with us, and we will have that chat with her.
Great, and Damien, you look like you.
I just want to say, Howard, we actually have events going on that involve the creative arts. If you look on the events page on the website and on the Facebook page, you'll see that we have some events coming up where we're using arts and nature, creating things on the beaches and places like Half Moon Bay, and on the main beach in Morecambe. We're actually doing events. We've got one coming up with the RNLI quite soon. I think we've got one coming up on Collins Peacock's Patch at Silverdale on Ironside as well quite soon. So keep your eyes on the website. You'll see what's coming up.
Thank you. Nick, you're up next, and you should be able to unmute now.
Okay, sounds fantastic. Really positive project. And I'm sure this information exists, like in terms of how many people will be involved in the construction, how many people will be subsequently employed. So where would I better find that information? Or maybe somebody can give us some bullet points now.
Tim, do you want to take that one? I mean, there is edenproject.com/north is a great resource for lots of that kind of headline figure kind of stuff. But Tim, I don't know whether you want to talk in any more detail.
Sorry, was that really about employment opportunities?
Hold on, I need to unmute Nick again. There you go.
Yeah, just numbers really, like how many people would be involved in the construction? Where would they come from? Where would they live? And subsequently, how many people would be employed and economic benefit to the area? Where will I find all that kind of stats?
Yeah, sure. Well, there was a business case produced for government, which has a lot of that stuff in it. I don't think that's actually publicly accessible, but there are some headline figures that we would be happy to kind of share. There's a lot of work done on that, actually. I mean, we're looking at about 2,000 construction jobs, which, you know, it sounds great, but then people kind of think, oh, well, you know, how many of those jobs or much of that money will be spent locally? But what we're trying to do in our tender documents, which are being put together, is to guarantee minimum 80% local labour and local suppliers. So, you know, through organisations like Chamber of Commerce, BID, obviously Lancaster and Morecambe College in terms of workforce, future workforce in the building college, etc. You know, we feel like we're in a really good place on that at the moment, but there's so much that will be coming together as we get funding confirmed. You know, we're kind of just hovering around that at the moment. And in terms of, you know, after opening, we're looking at around 400 full-time job equivalents, and they will be locals. You know, that's really important for us, not least because we don't want people driving to work. We want people cycling and walking to work. So that sort of dictates they're going to be definitely quite local. And, you know, although we will have some centrally controlled systems in Cornwall, that's actually really very, very slight. You know, it's just more around some governance issues, and actually the full workforce really will be in Morecambe. That's the plan. There's a whole load of other stats around it. I mean, you know, for those who are into business cases, our BCR is really good. Our economic impact is really good, and we'll be recrafting all that to put into this Levelling Up Round 2 application, which I mentioned at the beginning of the call. I've got to say, I've been doing this quite a long time, 25 years. I don't think I've seen a project that looks as good as this one. So come on, government. That's what we're saying. Okay.
Thank you, Tim. Thanks, Nick. Nick, I also did just post a link to our Planning Commission press release, which is publicly available, which does include some figures from the business case in there. So while the full business case hasn't been made public, there is some information in there which hopefully gets towards answering your questions. Thanks for your input. Brian is up next. Brian, you should be able to unmute.
Hello.
Hello.
Oh, yeah, I'm just trying to find out how many domes will actually be, because I've seen different drawings and some have got 5 and some are showing 3. So I'm just wondering how many domes will actually be when they build it.
I'll take that, Ben, if that's all right. So like most projects, there were some images produced right at the you know, the inception of the kind of idea. There were 5 shells there, but actually as the designers, and you can still see some of those legacy images if you do Google search and stuff, but the scheme is now the planning scheme, and there are 4 kind of primary shells, other smaller structures around, but 4 primary shells, and that's really because of the way we have developed the visitor experience, and that's definitely the scheme that we've got for the moment. Yes.
Right. Okay.
Yeah.
Is that liable to alter, or will that be? That's definitely what it's going to be.
It really should be what it's going to be, and I kind of say that with a kind of an architect head on, which is, you know, that's the planning permission, and that's what we intend to build. There are a couple of sort of interesting things that may come to pass that we don't know about that might change things slightly, particularly. You know, one shell might need to get a little bit bigger, another might need to get a little bit smaller, and we're just refining all that in the design. But largely, the planning application is what we now have consent to build, and we have to deliver that.
And do you know when we'll actually know exactly what that will be?
Well, we're doing the detailed design now. So I'd say between now and November, the project really gets kind of, fully crystallized to go out to tender for construction. But the changes will be minimal from what the planning permission currently shows.
Okay, so it doesn't sound like anything's going to happen this year then. It sounds like it's going to start next year.
Well, we're looking for a start on site in November. There's a lot of work to do on the design and the tender to take what was the planning piece of work up into sort of ready for construction. So there really is a lot going on. And we also, we made a pledge to the council that we wouldn't unnecessarily sterilise the site this summer because of just coming out of COVID. It was important, we all felt, for them to get the full summer programme. So, the full summer programme, including vintage, in the first week in September, that should all be going ahead as, I say it as normal. I mean, what's been normal over the last 2 years, I don't know. But, full summer programme, and then we'll take the site in autumn. And that should hopefully be the start of the build.
Thank you very much for that. Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you, Brian. Thank you, Tim. Howard, you have your hand up again. We probably have a few minutes after Howard, so probably time for one more question if anyone has anything they want to ask. Howard, when you're ready.
Yeah. Thank you. It was really just perhaps being more specific with my creative arts. I'm a musician, been involved in music performing and teaching all my life. So I was really concerned about the state of music in the schools and how we can relate to that situation through the Eden Project in the creative art scenario.
Thanks, Howard. Where's this sort of Eden curriculum question, maybe?
Yeah, absolutely. I think, as I mentioned earlier, and Howard, that the creativity and music in particular, it's something close to our hearts here at the college, Howard, because our own music curriculum's been somewhat reduced over the last few years because of that shrinkage within the school curriculum. We're trying to relaunch that curriculum right now because there are real jobs and real opportunities, and obviously a great deal of pleasure associated with music. So it's absolutely something that's close to our hearts, as I know it is to the other sort of educationalists involved in the Morecambe Bay curriculum, Howard. So hopefully we'll see some progress on that one. But absolutely, yeah, I fully agree.
Ben, I was just going to add a footnote to that. That hopefully might be nice for Howard to hear. But if I said, I think on a previous call, if we all close our eyes and dream a bit, we're going to have a 6,000 capacity outdoor concert venue right across the road. The Winter Gardens will be a 2,500 capacity music venue. It does other performances, but it's really a music venue. And there really is potential for Morecambe to take its place in what I'd call the sort of constellation of music history in the Northwest. We all know the stories of Liverpool, Manchester, etc. But I think Morecambe has an amazing future around music. And of course, the theme of Eden North is actually the rhythms of the Bay. So if you want to do some play on words there, I think music is definitely part of the project as we go forward.
Thank you, Tim. One final question. David, you're back again. I'm going to ask you to unmute. When you're ready, off you go.
There we go, yeah. Just a very, it's mostly a complex question, but I'm happy with a simple answer, mainly to Wes, I think. Mostly in the next couple of years, I, like many people, will need to change my gas central heating boiler. And I've heard a lot of negative press about the cost of heat pumps and so forth, and also the poor efficiency of them, that I'm basically a senior citizen getting older. I don't want to end up with a home that is not going to really get to temperature. So can you give me any confidence? I want to be environmentally friendly, but I also want to be warm.
Yeah, well, it's a conversation, David, that I've had with my specialist colleagues here. And what they're telling me, David, at the moment is the technology is moving on so quickly at the moment. The whole efficiency of the systems are moving on quickly. But I know my colleague, Maggie Cawthorne, is a little bit closer to this one, and she's just unmuted. Yeah. So I think Maggie's probably got a punchy answer for you on this one.
It's not actually the technology usually, it's the fact that it's not fitted correctly and that the other work that needs to go on. You don't just put an air source heat pump in, you need to look at your insulation and your radiators. And we're actually working with the Association of Plumbers and also the regulatory body who actually regulates the best fitters to try and improve training across the country to make sure that people aren't fitting them badly. You're quite right, David. They should operate around £1 a day, and if they're badly fitted, they can cost you £10 a day. So you've got to be absolutely sure it's the right solution for you. And it is only one solution out of a number of solutions that will be available. We're already getting the hybrid gas boilers. The new boilers will be hybrid for hydrogen. That might be one solution. Shared ground source heat pumps might be another solution. But, please do email us and I can put you in touch with the association that regulates if you want to know more about how to make sure you get the right pump.
Okay, thank you very much. That's helpful.
Thank you, Maggie. That's really, really useful information. And thank you, David. And thank you to our whole panel and to everyone who's contributed and attended. Great to see you all. Thank you for sharing your Friday lunchtime with us. So we will be back next month. The full schedule is on edenproject.com/north. Please do sign up for our forthcoming events. And you will see as well in the next few working days, recording of this session will be made available there, along with the answers to any questions in the chat that we weren't able to get to. So I don't know whether Tim or Emma or Wes or Andy, Joe, Maggie, has anything to add? But if not, we will say goodbye and see you next time. Thank you. Bye-bye.